There's a moment that hits a lot of retirees about 3 years in. They're looking at their quarterly statement and something just feels off. Not dramatically wrong, just not quite right. Their portfolio looks busy, but the results, they feel disappointing. That's when they realize the problem isn't what they own, it's actually how they own it. My name is Chris McClure, and after 30 years of helping successful families with their retirement portfolios, I've learned that most wealth isn't lost in market crashes. It actually gets quietly nibbled away by small mistakes that compound over years. Mistakes that are completely fixable once you spot them. Let me walk you through the 5 costliest ones that I see. Dana and Mike came to us with close to $4 million, and they were really frustrated. Every January, they'd look at last year's top performing funds and think, well, you know what? We should be in those. So they'd switch over and over and over. We just want the best investments, Dana told me. But when we looked at their 7-year track record, they were lagging the very funds that they were chasing by about 1.4% every single year. The thing is, by the time you see which fund won last year, the party's usually over. You end up buying high and then selling low constantly. So we worked together to build a core portfolio that rebalanced itself. No more guessing, no more second guessing. 6 months later, Mike said something that stuck with me. He said, you know what? I didn't realize how exhausting this was. Now I actually look forward to his statements. Now, if chasing performance is mistake number 1, mistake number 2 is almost the opposite problem. It's not about what you own, it's about where you keep it. And David had about $6 million and was paying an extra $38,000 more in taxes than he needed to. He was a super smart guy, he had solid investments, but everything was in the wrong accounts. He had real estate funds throwing off taxable income in his trust account. He had municipal bonds that were already tax-free. Those were stuck inside his IRA. And high turnover funds, like an actively managed mutual fund, was generating capital gains with no protection at all. So he moved everything around. We didn't change one single investment. Tax-hungry assets went into his IRA. Long-term growth stayed in his taxable account. If it's in the taxable account, it gets better tax treatment. And some of the active strategies that we used actually went into his Roth. So he had the same portfolio, same exact funds, but he's paying $38,000 less in taxes every single year. David told me, I wish I'd known this 20 years ago. The third mistake I see constantly is being too conservative, specifically holding way too much cash for way too long. Jennifer had about 1.2 million and about $1 million of it or so was sitting in bank accounts. She says, I just sleep better this way. I don't need income from it, but I like knowing it's safe. But here's what she didn't think about. At 3% inflation, she was losing about $30,000 in buying power every single year. So we ended up keeping $300,000 in cash, which was more than enough for any emergency. And we put the rest to work. We put it in a conservative portfolio that actually might beat inflation. A year later, she told me, I finally feel like my money's working as hard as I did when I made it. The fourth mistake is especially common, especially for business owners or corporate executives. They just have too much money in one basket. I had a couple come in with almost $8 million, but $3.2 million of it was in one stock. It had done great for years, but they knew they were walking a tightrope. She said, we're scared to sell and we don't want to get hammered on taxes, but we know this is just crazy risky. So instead of dumping everything at once, we spread the exit over 3 years. Some of it in the first year, some of it in the second year, and then some of it in the last year. Some shares actually went to charity, so they got an immediate tax deduction and there were no capital gains. And others we sold strategically using losses that we could offset from other places. 3 years later, they had gone from 40% concentration down to 8%. They kept most of the money and they dodged most of the taxes. He said to me, for the first time in years, I'm not worried about what one earnings report might do to my retirement. And the fifth mistake, it's one that happens to almost everyone, even people who do everything just right. They just forget. Markets move, portfolios drift, things change. One couple wanted a 60% stock portfolio with a 40% bond portfolio. But after a few good years, they were sitting at 78% stock without even realizing. When the correction hit, they felt it way harder than they had planned for. So now we rebalance automatically whenever the allocation it drifts too far. There's no emotion, there's no guesswork, we're just making smart decisions. And what's interesting about all these mistakes is that they're invisible. They're invisible until they're expensive. You don't get a warning letter that says your portfolio is inefficient. The damage just builds year after year after year. But what I've learned is that the families who feel most confident in retirement, they're not the ones who pick the perfect investments. They're the ones whose portfolio works systematically and efficiently without requiring constant attention. And the difference between a portfolio that looks good and one that actually works usually comes down to small structural details that most people never think about. So if you're wondering whether your portfolio has any of these hidden drags on performance, we help families spot and fix these issues all the time. This kind of planning, it works best for folks that have substantial assets who understand that how you structure things matters just as much as how you invest it. We happen to look at everything: your taxes, your estate plan, your long-term goals, not just your investment mix. If you want us to take a look at your portfolio, we'd be happy to. Just feel free to schedule a call with the link below. There's no charge for the review, but I think you'll find it very helpful. I really enjoy doing these videos. I hope that you'll comment or like it, and I'll see you on the next one.